So, Ser Duncan the Tall, how good a knight are you?
You'll see. It's this way. Came for the tourney.
Tourney is a contest for knight. You a knight?
I'm no farmer.
Yet you've come dressed as one.
Sir, I could squire you.
Set roughly a century before the events that reshaped Westeros in the era of dragons and civil war, a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms returns the audience to a more grounded, intimate corner of the same world, where honor is fragile, legends are still being written, and history has not yet hardened. Into myth. The story unfolds during the reign of the Targaryen dynasty, a time when the Iron Throne is secure but far from stable, and the realm is quietly simmering with political tension, rival claims, and the lingering consequences of past rebellions. Instead of focusing on kings, queens, and massive armies, the narrative narrows its lens to the road itself, following the lives of those who live beneath the banners of great houses and feel the weight of power without ever wielding it directly. At the heart of the story is Ser Duncan the Tall, known simply as Dunk, a hedge knight of humble origins whose towering stature contrasts with his uncertain place in the world. Dunk is not born into nobility, nor is he trained in the polished courts of castles. His sense of knighthood is shaped by stories, promises, and a deep belief in doing what is right, even when the world rarely rewards such choices. Having recently lost his mentor, Dunk sets out on his own with little more than his armor, his sword, and a fragile sense of purpose. His journey captures the uncertainty of a man trying to live up to an ideal in a society that often treats honor as a convenience, rather than a virtue. Accompanying Dunk is a sharp-tongued, intelligent boy who calls himself Egg, whose true identity is far more significant than it first appears. Egg's presence brings wit, curiosity, and constant challenge to Dunk's worldview, forcing the knight to question his assumptions about class, power, and responsibility. Their relationship forms the emotional core of the story, built on mutual dependence rather than hierarchy. Egg is not merely a squire learning the mechanics of swordplay and armor. He is a mirror reflecting the contradictions of the Seven Kingdoms, where lineage determines fate, and yet individual choices can still bend the course of history. The plot moves through a series of encounters, rather than a single sprawling conflict, emphasizing personal stakes over epic spectacle. Tournaments, roadside inns, and minor lordships become arenas where pride, ambition, and cruelty quietly clash. Dunk's desire to prove himself as a true knight repeatedly places him at odds with those of higher birth, revealing how dangerous the concept of honor can be when it challenges entrenched power. Each confrontation, whether physical or moral, pushes him closer to understanding what knighthood truly demands and what it costs to uphold it in a world that often punishes compassion. One of the defining elements of a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is its exploration of the Targaryen family long before their fall. The royal house is presented not as distant dragon lords, but as deeply human figures wrestling with legacy, expectation, and fear of losing control. The shadow of the Blackfyre rebellions looms heavily over the narrative, reminding viewers that even a victorious dynasty can be haunted by the blood it has spilled. This historical tension gives weight to seemingly small decisions, as characters navigate a realm where loyalty is constantly questioned and rebellion is never fully extinguished. The series also places strong emphasis on the everyday realities of Westeros, portraying a world where common folk endure the consequences of noble disputes. Through Dunk and Egg's travels, the audience witnesses the imbalance of justice, the exploitation of the weak, and the casual brutality that defines feudal life. These moments ground the story, making the political struggles feel personal rather than abstract. Instead of sweeping shots of armies marching, the focus remains on muddy roads, battered shields, and conversations that reveal more about power than any battle ever could. Casting for the series reflects this grounded approach, prioritizing performances that convey vulnerability and moral conflict over sheer spectacle. The actor portraying Dunk is tasked with balancing physical presence and emotional restraint, embodying a man who looks like a legendary warrior, but feels perpetually unprepared for the responsibility thrust upon him. Egg's actor, meanwhile, carries the challenge of blending youthful defiance with subtle hints of the destiny that awaits him, ensuring the character remains relatable without diminishing his importance to the larger history of Westeros. Supporting characters populate the world with a sense of lived-in authenticity, from arrogant young nobles to weary knights clinging to faded reputations. Each interaction reinforces the central theme that titles do not define worth, and that cruelty often hides behind courtesy. These characters are not villains in the traditional sense. They are products of a system that rewards dominance and punishes empathy. Their presence enriches the narrative, offering a multifaceted look at how power shapes behavior across all levels of society. The tone of the series differs noticeably from its predecessor, favoring quiet tension and moral ambiguity over constant shock. Violence, when it occurs, is impactful precisely because it is not constant. Duels and confrontations are framed as personal reckonings rather than spectacles, reinforcing the idea that every act of violence leaves a mark. This approach allows the emotional consequences of conflict to resonate, aligning the audience more closely with Dunk's internal struggle to reconcile his ideals with harsh reality. Visually, the series leans into a naturalistic aesthetic, highlighting the worn textures of armor, the simplicity of rural landscapes, and the understated grandeur of tournaments. The absence of dragons and large-scale magic shifts attention to human drama, reminding viewers that the most enduring conflicts in Westeros are driven by pride, fear, and desire rather than supernatural forces. This grounded visual style supports the narrative's focus on character development and thematic depth. The release of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is positioned as both a continuation and a recalibration of the franchise, offering longtime fans a return to familiar lore while inviting new viewers with a more accessible, character-driven story. By setting the series in a period of relative peace, the creators allow tension to build through dialogue and choice, rather than constant warfare. This slower burn underscores the idea that history is shaped not only by wars, but by quiet moments where individuals decide who they want to be. Trailer footage emphasizes the bond between Dunk and Egg, showcasing their banter, shared hardships, and gradual trust. Rather than teasing massive battles or fantastical elements, the preview highlights tournaments, tense confrontations, and reflective moments by campfires, signaling a narrative centered on growth and consequence. The restrained marketing approach reinforces the series' commitment to storytelling rooted in humanity rather than excess. Ultimately, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms stands as a meditation on legacy and identity within a world obsessed with bloodlines and power. Through the journey of a wandering knight and his unlikely squire, the series examines what it truly means to be honorable in a society built on inequality. It reminds the audience that legends are not born fully formed, but shaped through small acts of courage, failure, and perseverance. In returning to Westeros through this intimate lens, the story reclaims the heart of the saga, proving that even in a land defined by thrones and crowns, the most powerful stories belong to those who walk the long road between them.